Welcome to the Heroes of Reality podcast, a podcast about the game of life and the hero's journey we all experience. Let's jump in with our host, Dylan Watkins, as he introduces today's guest.
Welcome, young adventurers. Dylan here. And on today's podcast, I interview Yfke Laanstra, a futurist, keynote speaker, trainer, and author of the Dutch book, Bytes and Bewustzijn. I completely butchered that, but in the English translation is the computer code and consciousness. She's passionate about the cutting edge of consciousness, computer technology, and human potential, and focuses on the implications and the applications of computer technology on our humanness, wellness, and consciousness. So without any further ado, I'm excited to introduce Yfke. Hello. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Of course, of course. So you are a futurist and a keynote speaker about the computer code and consciousness. Can you talk to me just a little bit about how does computer code and consciousness relate to one another?
Well, you tried reading the Dutch title of my book because it hasn't been translated in English yet. I still hope it will. But we actually chose the title because it sounded great. Bits, Bytes and Bewustzijn. So it has 3 B's. But well, it all has to do with being conscious with and around technology, and why that is so important, and also about the quest of computers gaining consciousness and all those kinds of topics. So that's those are things that I address in my book. Mm-hmm. So that's why those things are combined. And my actual, this is all about the hero's journey, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least that's what I read. So, and when I look at my own journey, to me, the central focus was always consciousness and figuring out the bigger questions in life about who am I, what am I, why am I here? So, and computer technology was just added later to the mix. So that's quite recent.
Got it. And so so it's just a deep yearning for like knowledge, to understand who are we, why are we here? And then how does this weird technology thing blend into everything?
Yes, exactly. Because I've always been kind of like a deep thinker. That's just what I seem to do. Just ponder about the bigger questions and zooming out and seeing what this reality is all about and why we're here and how all of this works. And so I've studied so many topics, and but it has been since 2012 that computer technology was added to the equation, and that had to do with me becoming more active as an online business manager and a virtual assistant, and I started building websites and stuff like that. And so I went into the technology, the coding part, etc. And I've always been very comfortable around computers and always understood the way they worked for some reason. Like I leveled with them instantly. Like my brain seems to work the same way. And and when I started diving into topics like biohacking, transhumanism, and things we maybe will address in this conversation as well, that's when I got really turned on. I was like, wow, this makes so much sense about what's happening around the world and why we're here and how all of this works. And to me, it was the final piece of the puzzle.
So have you noticed any reoccurring themes along the journey of understanding consciousness and why we're here? Is it, are there certain patterns that you've seen, whether you're studying old texts, and what have you studied to kind of gain insights and understanding? What has been your knowledge journey that you progressed along?
Well, it's interesting because it's very obvious that when you want to study things like consciousness, you can approach it from a scientific point of view, but sooner or later you'll dive into the whole spiritual side of things. And whether it's old texts and civilizations that have been around or whatever, or if it's just a meditation or a yoga or whatever you want to put under the name of spiritualism. I noticed that so many things that I looked into with regards to those topics, but then I realized when computer technology was something that I really dived into, everything started to make sense, because a lot of things, if just a very maybe weird example, but if you look like things as channeling, you can look at it as something that is from another being or spirit or whatever, or some ascended master or whatever who's talking to you. But it might also be, and I'm not saying that it's like this in all the cases, but it might also be that it's created by technology, and that thoughts are being implanted into your minds, leaving you to think that something higher than yourself is coming through, but it might even just be triggered by technology. And
are you saying that, like, so when you talk about channeling, you mean you're getting some sort of data downloads from a place that you don't know where these ideas are coming from, these words, these thoughts, these insights? Is that?
Yeah, and it might even be triggered by AI or something like that, because who knows that whatever we are being led to believe what the state of technology is at this point in time, maybe it's way, way, way ahead of what we're being led to believe. And what is actually spiritual, what is coming from other dimensions or other beings, or what is actually being triggered by technology. And I truly believe that sooner or later we'll discover that this whole reality and so much that we are being led to believe that technology is actually behind all of that.
Do you think?
But that's pretty far out.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's go. That's okay. I can swim. Let's get far out. So, do you believe? Do you think this is real reality, or do you believe that we're in some sort of matrix-like environment, and that's why we're getting this? Is that what you think the origins of reality is, or do you think?
Well, I think it's kind of like a combination. Well, The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I didn't really understand at the time why that was. But after 2012, I totally got why I was so moved by that movie in 2009 when it first came out. But I absolutely believe that a big part of what we call reality is actually created by artificial intelligence. And so we're in some kind of computer simulation, but that doesn't mean that it's all fake and it has no meaning. It's kind of like a combination of, if you want to talk to it in like a computer code, then it's partly artificial and it's partly organic, something like that. It's like layers mixed.
I feel like we need a whiteboard in this session. So if we're looking at this, and I want to get clear on this, when you're talking about artificial intelligence, so if I pray, or if I close my eyes, or if I try to channel in with something, you feel there is some sort of artificial intelligence that is kind of the connecting piece of
it doesn't have to be in all the time. I'm not saying that is what always happens when you channel, because there are a lot of people that I mean, I can't say for everyone that that's the case, but I do know that a lot of the time that is actually what is happening. And
how so? Now, because I'm super interested in this topic, is how is it artificial intelligence if you're getting these data insights? So you feel like it's super advanced technology that we're unaware of, and it is
already known that through electronic impulses, you can put thoughts into someone's mind. You don't even have to actually physically touch someone, just through frequencies, electromagnetic impulses, that is just possible. So it isn't that far-fetched if someone just gets complete data downloads in their head. But the most important question is, what is its origin? And it can be the most spiritually advanced information, but it can also be created just to mislead a large crowd.
Do you feel that that data is coming from someone, like there's someone on this planet that is being able to send that data in? Or do you feel like there is some sort of advanced superstructure that is encapsulating this environment? Like, do you think this is quote unquote man-made, or is this made by some sort of super organism that is able to kind of send technology insights into your brain?
I think it's kind of like a combination. So there are actually human beings on the line, on the communication line, I mean. This artificial intelligence, I mean, nowadays we still feel like it's just super intelligent computers, and we still link it to some hardware casing where the super intelligence is living in, so to speak. But I'm convinced that whatever we feel as something that will happen in the way future has already happened. So the whole thing of transhumanism coming closer and closer, like the merging of biology with technology, for those who are unaware of what transhumanism is, I'm convinced that has already happened.
What makes you convinced that it already happened? What do you feel is the
that's a very good question. Yeah, because I don't have any hard proof or anything. It's just that I've spoken to so many people that have written books about this or have had experiences with this, and I've done so much research myself, and every time information is being shared about this conclusion, it really hits the core of me, and I just feel that's a deep truth. So it's not just that I think that it is the case, I just feel it is the case. And sooner or later we will discover that that is true.
It's super interesting because you're speaking it from a point of feeling it, and it almost like, and a part of my mind is like, well, is there some sort of artificial AI or something that's telling you that it's true? Is there?
Well, that's a very legitimate question. How do you call it? Yeah. Because who knows that I am just talking bullshit. So who knows? But so never believe what I'm saying. But I'm convinced of what I'm saying. So
it's super fascinating, and it's one of those ones that it's very difficult because there's no hard evidence either way on these types of things, right? And unless you've gone down things, and I don't know if have you had any experience with psychedelics or any of those other things that would give you?
Minimum, not very much. No,
not where you got blasted into the cosmos and went and talked to the superstructure AI system.
But I've spoken to so many people who have. So and I've heard so many details and experiences and heard things that were similarities and things like that, and read about it. And there's so much known about the topic. But whenever you talk about things like extraterrestrials or conspiracy theories, you get labeled instantly. So it's always a tricky topic when you try to combine these kinds of things. And even when you even mention AI and robotics into the mix, it even gets weirder for many people.
it's fringe thinking, but a lot of fringe thinking, as you can tell, it goes from crazy land to prolific to common thoughts, right? So like,
Yeah.
Crazy land is like people that try to eat the sun for energy, right? They sit there and you're like, oh, okay, or flat earthers or other things. And then, fringe is this consciousness merging with the machine. It goes from crazy to prolific, and it's on a gradient scale depending on where you stand, your gradient to everything else. That's all.
Well, and I'm a very big believer in the power of just doing your own research. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not a diehard scientist or whatever. I just do my research in my own manner. But and I'm open to all kinds of perspectives. So it's not that I throw a lot of them in the bin to begin with. So I just stay open to all kinds of perspectives and read into it, talk to people, and then see what resonates and what sticks with me. And then,
what does your research process look like? What does your research process look like? What does your research process look like? Do you interview people? Do you read books? Do you listen to audiobooks? Or how do you gather this data, and what is that?
Well, most of the things is reading and listening. So a lot of books, a lot of websites, articles, ebooks, newsletters.
If someone was going to get started in this space and try to understand consciousness and the universe and how we fit into it all, do you have a couple of top level books that you would recommend them checking out? Ones that you think would be, oh, this is a, go here to start your journey kind of thing.
Oh my God. Yeah, my own book. But that's in Dutch, so that's not really.
That's where you need an AI that can translate it and kick out that data. So that would be awesome for the non-Dutch speakers.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at the topics that I'm interested in, it can be deeply spiritual, it can be very technological, and it can be highly scientific. So it goes all directions. But I do make sure I'm led by my intuition. So, and I've been to so many webinars and talks and presentations of the most diverse type of speakers. And again, from hardcore scientists about quantum physics to people that were really deep into conspiracy theories. So all, and UFO encounters and whatever. So, and I just, extract my own vision from there. So it's kind of like in my own unique way.
Got it. So there's no single book or a single thing that they can point to kind of get them up and running and on this journey of consciousness. No. It's too much to swallow. You look back and try to. Sometimes when people are so deep down the space, trying to reflect backwards and say, "Oh, this," you don't even know how to tell them because you've gone so deep down the path. And
it's so interesting because when I look back, there are so many things that I found to be very interesting at the time, and I'm so fed up with it by now. So it's all, especially in the spiritual realms, I'm like, wow, I realize more and more how much distraction and nonsense is being shared there, and how we're still being made dependent of what other people say, and that other people need to fix us and heal us, and that we need to improve us and find the best version of ourselves. And it's like religion in a whole new context, and then it's called spirituality. And if you look at transhumanism, and if there's also, it also has religious components, but it's the same story, but then it has a technological packaging. like technology can make you the best version of you, and you can upgrade yourself, and you can be the best you and whatever. So it's very interesting.
Do you not believe that technology can improve who you are, or do you feel like, what are the things
Well,
that you feel is false?
You know, what I think is false is the initial questions that we need improving. And that doesn't mean that we're flawless. Absolutely not. But that's part of being human. And we are just being especially through technology, we're just being overstimulated to get everything right and perfect, and to get everything measured and everything upgraded and tweaked, and to become more intelligent and immortal and have superhuman abilities. And it's all so interesting and fascinating. But the initial question, I believe that we have hardly any clue of what we're actually capable of as human beings. And that is way too soon that we are moving towards technology to improve us, while we hardly have any idea of things we aren't even using yet of our capabilities.
What are people not using of their capabilities in terms of, like, without technology? Are there what pieces of that what do you think is unaware, or people are unaware of using?
Well, oh my God, that's such a big question. When you, for example, look at transhumanism, a big focus there is also that we're trying to become immortal, and like, move beyond dying, so that's something we don't have to deal with in this lifetime. But that the main focus of that is like we only exist in a human body, but we are so much more than just this human body that we're living in. And then we are getting back to the consciousness part of it. We're way bigger and much more than this. And who says that we're only living in this reality? So it's all being downgraded to this 3D reality and to this body, but we are so big, so much bigger, and we have so much more potential than just what we're seeing here and what we can measure with our current technologies.
So that's interesting that you're saying that, because on one side of things, you're saying that there's no need to upgrade or improve yourself, but on the other side, you're saying we have so much potential to improve ourselves.
No, not to improve ourselves. We don't need to improve ourselves. There's so much potential that we're not even aware of. So that's something different.
I'd love to learn the difference between the two of seeking to improve yourself and reaching your full potential.
Sorry, say again?
What's the difference between someone that's seeking to improve themselves and upgrade themselves, and someone that's seeking to reach their full potential?
To me, someone that is looking to upgrade himself, there's the assumption that that person is to a certain level, and that it's imperfect, and that it needs something outside of itself to become to get to the next level. And while in the other case, it's just becoming aware of whatever there already is that you haven't found yet, that you're not even aware of. And that's also where the consciousness part comes in. When you become aware of who you are, what you are, and where you are, and how this reality works.
So you're talking about exogenous improvements, external things to make exogenous.
What is that?
I apologize. I'm sorry, English terminology. So, so exogenous chemicals are chemicals from the outside, intrinsic versus taking chemicals on the inside. Sorry about the word usage. What I mean by that is the difference that I'm hearing you say is that people that feel like they're broken and they need something external to fix them, to get them to where they want to go, versus someone saying, I have innate potential within me, and I don't need the outside influencers to improve myself. I can self motivate. I can take my own direction, and I can do it all within, just by, lack of a better term, upgrading my mindset, upgrading my psychology, being willing to,
Well,
and push back if you feel that's incorrect.
No, that's yeah, and that brings me to because one of the topics that I'm very interested in, and that's part of your podcast, is the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole when you look at all the superhero movies that are being launched still, I mean, you would think that everyone's already tired with them, but they're still being launched. But so a lot of the message there is about outside forces that are being upgraded with all these superhuman abilities and whatever. Mm-hmm. While the real hero's journey, to me, is a journey inwards. Mm-hmm. And the whole, when you look at transhumanism and the whole merging of biology with technology mindset, is that we need technology outside of ourselves to upgrade ourselves. While for me, it's all about remembering who we really are. And that even goes so far as even wondering if the history and biology and science and everything that we are being led to believe, what is really true. Mm-hmm. And so what is true about who you think you are and what you're capable of, like your self-healing abilities. It is so much bigger than we're being taught in school, in our families, in our societies. So, and that's why I use the term on my website also, like reloading lost data, like the computer type joke. But
appreciate that.
It's all about what we've forgotten in a way, and like we have to. If you want to use computer technology, we have to be turned back on, like we're in sleep mode.
Rebooting the system usually fixes all problems. Yeah.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. So it's not especially upgrading or linking us to technology or whatever. It's rebooting and waking up and really realizing who we are and where we are at as a species.
Well, if you look at the hero's journey, something I'm fairly familiar with is if you look at it, there's a thing known as the hero's two journeys. There's the journey to obtain something external, like money, to get the girl, to win the prize, to achieve the glory, right? And then there's the internal journey that you go along the way, who you become, which is the unseen journey that people go on. And really, that's why people love these. I mean, that the reason why superhero movies, and it's still going to come out, and they're going to come out forever, is it's the story of transformation. It's the story of someone.
It is the hero's journey. Yeah,
it's an ordinary person put in extraordinary situations that force them to reach inwards to find their new potential, right? Yes. And sometimes you don't see it. And the reason why there's mentors and all these other things is that you get shown what is the potential in someone else, and then you model their behavior, and then mentor, you go, I want to be like that. And so you model their behavior to become like them. And so it's kind of like this potential outsourcing where you see that potential and you go, oh, I want to have really big arms. And so that guy lifts weights, so I lift weights, or, for example. But really along the way, they get self-discipline and all those other things that they need to become that person, because we respect it. We respect the heroes because they have these powers. They have these abilities. And when they've earned it,
they inspire.
They inspire you to become better. And so that's why we do it. Technology is just us magnifying who we are, right? So you can use it to sit on a couch and watch Netflix and not reach your potential, or you can use it to see how many push-ups and sit-ups you do. As lack of a better term, I'm just picking one thing. So do you feel with the transhumanistic movement, do you feel like it's going in the wrong direction? Is there a direction that it could be used to help people, or a way that you feel like, are they off course? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the transhumanism is such a large concept. I mean, and just like in the spiritual scene, there are so many subcategories. So the transhumanism, there's so many different groups within that whole transhumanistic movement. So there are people that have really spiritual ambitions. There are people that are only focused on data and whatever you can measure. And there are people that truly see human beings as some kind of virus that we need to get rid of. So you have all these types of people. And so it is not wrong, because, and let me clarify that or emphasize that I am absolutely not anti-technology. I love technology. It's just so interesting to see the tension that it creates or can create. I mean, of course, in this reality, we need outside impulses and indeed mentors and role models to trigger something inside of us that wants us to improve or try new things or get out of our comfort zones. So that is just how it works here. But for me, I do feel that the whole transhuman view tends to look only outside and for solutions, whether that's an app or a gadget or a wearable or whatever. Because also there you have things like meditation apps, like this very simple example of a meditation app, which is in itself beautiful. I mean, we all carry around our smartphones. However, I no longer have a smartphone, but almost everyone carries one. So why not make a meditation available through the smartphone? I mean, that's a wonderful idea. It's like using technology for that purpose. But on the other hand, if it means that if your battery is down, you don't know how to turn inwards, and if you're dependent on your smartphone for something like that would be ridiculous. So but it's not black and white. It's such a difficult topic, and there's this whole thing called transformative technology, which is fascinating. It's looking at how to use technology for mental and spiritual and emotional well-being. But again, it's always, you have this friction. And so I find it difficult to find a balance, like, what is right and what is wrong, if you can ever speak in terms like that.
There's a couple things I want to touch on. So one being is, it seems like, and what I'm hearing you say is that technology can have a benefit, and but you don't want to be dependent on it. And so you can use it to like augment you and augment, say, your meditation ability. But then when it goes away, can you still do it? Are you greatly dependent on it? I originally got into meditation through the Headspace app, and I did that a ton, and I did like a lot of that, and then I did other ones and other things, and now I don't even use it anymore. I just meditate. I use white noise in the background to block out any of the sounds on the outside. So occasionally I use that just so I don't hear.
You have the noise canceling headphones, for example. That's perfect.
So I can see that, but that, what you're talking about is it's a transitionary state until it becomes a way of life, right? So it augments and outsources your discipline and your capabilities, right? And so you have that, and then eventually, if you can take that away and you can do it without that, to where you don't need it. For example, like carrot and stick, like, oh, I'm going to give you $1 to lose a pound of weight, but you really want the way of life, right?
It's so it's so easy for us to lean towards ease and comfort, and so whatever our phone or laptop, tablet, whatever can help us to make very efficient and easy and accessible, that's something we will automatically lean towards.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that it's always the best solution. And so again, we have to remain aware of the choices we make,
Mm-hmm.
and what are the alternatives, and not always choose the easy way. I mean, just try to leave your phone, just turn it off for like half a day and see how you feel.
No, thank you.
No, exactly. If you feel like you're losing a limb,
Yeah.
or whatever, or if you get really nervous, that's very interesting.
My best friend had a wedding a couple months ago, and I accidentally took my phone for a swim, and it no longer worked. And I was like, oh, I'll just wait a couple of days. The new phone comes out, the new iPhone comes out. I can go like 4 or 5 days without it, because the new one's going to come out and all that stuff. And I really started to feel like FOMO, fear of missing out. I was, on the outside of this party, and I'd go past people, and everybody would be on their phones. Pre-pandemic, like you look at like Starbucks, anybody in a coffee shop, there's only two things. You're either on a phone or you're talking to somebody. That is it. There's nobody just sitting there staring at a wall. That's just not a thing. But you realize that is it's supplementing having a human connection in place of it. And it's really interesting to see that effect. And I definitely use it because, for various reasons, I'm sure I'm addicted to it in some way, shape, and form. But I also find it benefits me because you can do so much more with it. Mm-hmm. What caused you to make the decision to give up your cell phone?
First of all, I realized that I was totally addicted to it. Because my mind is always looking for information. Because I'm just a thinker, I'm a researcher, that's what I do, just on autopilot. So my smartphone was like this open door to this huge library called Google. So I was always reading and looking for information, and I just couldn't stop myself. And when I was next to someone in the car, when I was waiting in line, when I was whatever, well, we all know those situations, I instantly grabbed my phone, and people close to me started mentioning that to me, like, put away that phone. And I wasn't aware of it really. But at some point, I realized how bad it was, and that I wasn't able to constrain myself. So it started as a way of protecting myself, because I was, I couldn't turn myself off. I mean, my mind is always running, but now it was in overdrive. And I had an even harder time really connecting to my feelings and connecting to the people around me, because I was in this other digital realm all the time, and always thinking.
How long has it been?
Sorry?
How long has it been since you?
2 years, around 2 years now.
2 years. And what have been some of the benefits that you've noticed by not having your phone for 2 years?
Oh, it's so much more calm. I mean, one of the things that I'm convinced of as well is that sooner or later we'll discover that this smartphone is doing so much more in our interaction as human to the smartphone that we're aware of at this point. It is influencing your mental state. It's influencing your emotional state. It is indeed keeping you addicted. It's huge. It's really huge what this phone is doing that we're not even really aware of. So when I threw my phone out of the window, which was quite a decision because I was very hooked to it, it instantly felt like there was this whole intelligent being that I just dropped out of the window. So to me, it really felt like I got rid of so much more than just this smartphone. And like the 31st of December last year, I decided to also quit my Facebook account, for example. So yeah, and I write about that in my book as well, like the impacts of social media and the smartphone and however that works, and the impact on your empathy and attention span and whatever, all things a lot of your listeners have probably heard about. So, but yeah, then I really discovered it myself.
Has that ever bitten you in the butt? Has it ever been a negative where you didn't have your smartphone or you didn't have your Facebook? Has there been a situation that you can recall where it had a negative impact on you?
After I got rid of it?
Yeah.
No, not really. No.
Okay, I was trying to look at both sides of the coin on this one, and because I mean, it serves a lot of benefits. You can reach out, you can call someone, you can get directions.
I had to, yeah, exactly. I had to buy a TomTom navigation, for example, because
TomTom.
Yes, because my built-in navigation really sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't use my smartphone, so I had to buy that. But well, hey, that's not such a big deal. And that was and I did use a lot of apps and things, but I'm not a person that uses a lot of gadgets and wearables where you need to use your smartphone. I don't track things. I'm interested in the concept of it, but I'm not interested in it myself. Yeah,
so, you're a technology voyeur. You like to see.
I'm more of a philosopher.
Yeah,
around it.
That's fascinating. So let me ask you a question then. What's your opinion on like Elon Musk making Neuralink and putting things in your brain and all that fun stuff? Like, at what point will you do it? What's going to be the?
Oh, I'll never do it. I'll never do it.
What if you could learn like Spanish in one click? You click a button, you got Spanish down, right? All right. What happens? What happens if all the friends around you speak 27 different languages and you don't? At one point, I want to push your buttons here and see what falls off. So.
Well, I'm not a person that is very vulnerable to group pressure, so that helps.
I noticed. I'm trying to stack the deck here. So you'll never do it. There's no motivation to merge with the machine on your side.
No. No, and in my, I don't feel like we ever need to merge with it, but I do feel that that we'll develop a completely different type of technology. That is maybe something that will, how do you call it? Steer with your consciousness instead of a keyboard or a mouse or by talking to it. Or so maybe in the future, technology will be something that we maybe not even specifically see as such. But which just looks human and is all around us, and digital and realms and organic realms, you don't see the difference. But again, that's, as I mentioned earlier, look around you, that's where we're already in. But that's my opinion.
So looking at that, have you tried, because I mean, a lot of it sounds like the Matrix, and we could be living in the Matrix, and there is some interesting things of like, well, okay, there's two things. So I'm gonna start with one first, is consciousness. Do you think there is what is consciousness? Is that AI? Is that a collective thinking system? Is that connected to some outside source sending in data? What do you think consciousness is?
Well, yeah, that's maybe even the big question. That's maybe even the biggest question. I mean, there are still the biggest scientists rolling over each other trying to find answers to that question. So I won't even dare to answer it. But to me, I feel like beyond this skin, this body, this personality, who we think we are. If it all boils down to energy, frequencies, and even consciousness. So we're pure consciousness, but you can also, to me, it feels there is an organic consciousness and there's an artificial consciousness, and the
How
AI.
so? Can you explain that a little bit? Yeah.
Wow.
Can you parse to me what's the difference between the organic consciousness and the artificial consciousness? Does that all live inside the body at once? Where is that? I'm trying to get what's the distinction between the two?
In this reality that we live in and the body that we're living, it's a mixture of both. So that's why we're kind of in the matrix, but not only in the matrix, because the matrix is just artificial. That's just computer code. But there is something organic and something original still intact. And it's for us to remember or to distinguish between what is artificially created and what is original. And that's kind of what the whole hero's journey for me is about discovering that. And so, yeah, I actually think or believe that there are beings on this planet that look human, but are just artificial.
So you feel like there's some artificial dungeon masters that are rolling around the world that are observing us and being able to send thoughts into our heads that are from this artificial being. Do you feel like there is a giant global game being played? I often say that life is a game. It's more fun to play with your friends. So I feel like you're taking it to the next level here, and I'm trying to clearly understand. You believe there's artificial beings currently right now, and they are able to. What's the purpose of these artificial beings? What are they doing? Where are they?
Yeah, that's in the category existential questions, because that's
they call podcasts existential.
Because it has to do with the whole human evolution. I mean, why are we here, and why is this reality the way it is at the moment, and what's behind all of this? And I don't even pretend to have the final answers to that, because I don't think we'll ever really figure out. But I do feel that there are beings or an intelligence that is maybe even older than our planet Earth. That has kind of maybe even invaded this reality and created this kind of matrix-like situation. And we are in this hero's journey to find our way out of this labyrinth.
Are you sure you haven't done psychedelics? Are you sure?
No, no.
It's a very psychedelic conversation. So
I never felt compelled, because I don't believe I need them.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So what gives you the basis or the belief? Like, what gives you the feeling that there are these artificial beings around? Where does that come from?
Well, I have read so much books, information, been to talks, spoken to people that do claim to have first-hand experiences with other beings, with other dimensions, with other civilizations, that have told me stories that have touched me in such a profound way that I know that it wasn't my mind that reacted to it, that I just instantly felt things that I heard were true. A lot of them weren't, but some of them were. And over time, that kind of created my view on things.
Do you have anything that you could recommend, or any one book or one talk that stands out to you as like something that kind of gave you the most insights, or the greatest feeling that this is kind of the way reality is?
Well, let me choose a very accessible book.
Non-Dutch, please.
Non-Dutch, yeah. And that is the book called The Simulation Hypothesis by Rizwan Virk. and you can find it on Amazon. And I think it's
hypothesis.
Yes, and it is a very accessible 3D, and he also gets into spirituality as well, but he, in a very accessible way, goes into the whole thing of, are we actually living in a simulation or not? And why is it very much possible that it is the case? And how it puts a lot of things in a different perspective if you look at it from a computer simulation point of view. Mm-hmm. So so maybe that's interesting.
It's a good place to start. And it's a unique concept, a new perspective. So I was trying to understand the journey along to make that. So could you talk, because you've mentioned a couple times about our journey and the hero's journey with us and technology. What do you think are a couple of the pitfalls along the way? What are we called threshold guardians, things that prevent us from kind of reaching our holy grail and that transformation? What do you think are the things that step in the way from our growth as a civilization?
Well, the first word comes to mind is forgetting that we are that we've forgotten that we've forgotten. So that's very philosophical, right?
We forgot that we forgot. I don't know what I don't know, but I'm 100% sure that I don't know it though.
Because there is so much about our biology. We think we figured out so much of who we are and how our biology works and how our reality works, and we really don't. And as long as we think we know so much and we work from there, then we are leaving behind so many interesting things, and we are skipping so many important things. And I'm actually reading at the moment the book called Reclaiming Conversation by Sherry Turkle. And she is really making a stand for how important it is that we actually have face-to-face conversation instead of only chatting and pinging and Zooming and whatever, and why it's conversation is so important. And especially that younger generations are not even aware, not all of them, of course, but let's generalize for the sake of the conversation, but that a lot of young people are not even aware of the things that we no longer learn, because we're only, most of them are only communicating through screens, and even in the families that they grow up, people hardly have real attention for each other. So I find it very disturbing that if we are not aware of what is happening and aware of how we are, what's happening to us with and around technology, that we are just losing so many very, very important things along the way. And I feel compelled to make sure that that's not happening.
Raise the flag and let everybody know. Have you experienced virtual reality? Have you had experience having conversations with people in virtual reality at all? Have you ever tried that?
Hardly, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, it's fair. I just would be curious, just on the areas of conversations and communications and things like that. I do a lot of, I build a lot of virtual reality social environments, so people engage in those ones. And I would just be very, especially from the perspective of reclaiming the conversation. What are the gaps between the two? Is there a gap in the technology? I mean, you can't track eyes, you can't track micro expressions, things like that, but you can still get. I've had some very deep, soulful conversations inside VR.
Absolutely.
And so I was just curious about that. But I do agree that like deep conversations is one piece that we're missing entirely. Hence.
Yeah, no, but it's very good that you point that out, as well as what you've experienced, because again, it's not about good or bad and black and white. And there are, especially through the whole Corona situation, all this kind of software that is helping you to meet online and to interact online it has been improved so much because we're more and more people are using it. So it's getting a boost. That's amazing. So there are a lot of new platforms being designed and created, which are wonderful. But again, when you're not through a digital connection, where you're actually face to face and where you can even touch each other, and you can feel so much more. And again, that's also not black and white, because the most sensitive people can feel everything, even when it's a digital connection, or even when there's no digital connection, when you just think of a person. So it's very nuanced.
Well, it's a series of grace, and you're right. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but it is interesting to get perspectives, because the perspective of someone else can shift yours and put you on a different path, and that's why I'm asking these questions, is to see what inspired you for the remembering of people, what inspired you to be fascinated with technology but not want to be close to it. There's this interesting push-pull relationship.
Well, I want to be close to it because I spend a lot of time behind my laptop.
Then get the chip in your brain.
No. I don't want technology to move beyond my skin barrier.
But it will make you whole. It will fix you.
Well, we'll see.
No, what's the so okay, on your journey for all of this, everything that you're doing here, right? With the book, with understanding it, with these hypotheses, with communicating this super AI intelligence that we're connected with. What's your holy grail for all of this? What do you ultimately seek to do with all of these studies and all of this communication and research that you do?
Well, I hope to spark something in people, even if it's just a little thing. Because again, I don't have the answers, so I don't pretend to have some kind of vision or philosophy that is the one that's how everything works or everything is. I don't, because I tweak it almost every day, because I get new insights and new perspectives, and I talk to other people, and I love that, to always adjust the way I feel and think about things. But I do, for me, it's very valuable if people start thinking for themselves. So I hope that there is things that I say trigger something in another human being. Like, what if? Maybe she's right. Or why does that touch me? And do I want to, explore that, or whatever it is? I don't care if there's something that I've triggered in another human being that makes them aware and ask questions, then I'm very happy.
Okay, beautiful.
Without the result, I don't care about the results, because I don't know what's good or bad.
It's not necessarily you must believe this or do that. You just want people to think about a new perspective and integrate that new that concept of, or that thought, in some way that causes them to become inquisitive. So really the goal, what you want, is to have more people to become inquisitive, like you're inquisitive, and that gift of curiosity, I would say.
And going back to the hero's journey, like moving out of their comfort zone into the unknown. And what if everything that you've been told that is true is not true? About who you are, about how this reality works. What if? Well, that's an interesting one, don't you think?
It's a fascinating one, and a great one to end this podcast with. Is there any last thoughts or insights or ahas you'd like to give to people before you let people know how they can find more of what you do, or how to get a hold of you?
Well, nothing particular that comes to mind. No. And if people want to know more about me, then the English version of my website is my first and last name, yfkelaanstra.com. So there they can read more about me and my work.
Yfkelaanstra.com, and That will be inside the one. It's in the video. Two, it's inside a lot of these cards out there. So just combine that name together.com to find more of Yfke's work. Yfke, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this conversation. It was wide ranging and it was a lot of fun. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this.
Yes, and thanks again. And thanks everyone for who's watching. Thanks for your time.
Beautiful. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Heroes of Reality podcast. Check out heroesofreality.com for more episodes. While you're there, you can also take the Heroes quiz to find out what kind of hero you are. Or, if you have a great story and want to be on the podcast, tell us why your hero's journey will inspire others. Thank you for listening. See you on the